The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Today's guest and their company are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial.
So thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. So basically, things I like to kind of think about and when I'm working with people is just kind of how their story kind of is kind of like played into what they're doing. Most people in Abilene have a pretty surface level experience for how businesses work, how the places that they go to, that they frequent, that they eat at, how all the backings and backgrounds kind of go into what they experience from the product. So just kind of like, do you mind kind of starting kind of toward the beginning of how you guys got started, how that's kind of influenced what you're doing now, just kind of some kind of high notes on that.
Well, thanks so much for having us. So Vagabond Pizza, we started as a food truck. Jason and I moved to Abilene in 2011. He had been cooking most of his whole life in some realm or another, was pretty good at it, and we knew he was going to be in the restaurants version of the world at some point. I was in banking at the time.
Really?
The reason, yeah, we'll touch on that as we transition to the restaurant here.
Okay.
So we moved to Abilene in 2011. He staged at a couple different restaurants and realized maybe this is the time to start something on our own. But we were in our 20s, we were broke, and we were ignorant. So absolutely, we had no capital to start a restaurant yet. And there's where the food truck started. Gotcha. The food truck's also how we got the name Vagabond. We rolled around, we didn't have a home. Made perfect marketing sense at the time. Thankfully, that food truck rolled around for a few years. Our goal was to get, in 5 years, we would talk about a brick and mortar. That was all, the restaurant was the goal. Thankfully, Abilene liked pizza about as much as we did. And in 3 years, we were able to secure our spot on North 2nd Street to keep things rolling for the bigger vision.
Okay. So where were some places where you were food trucking at? Like, I mean, I remember seeing you guys at a coffee shop. But
Absolutely.
Just like, what were some other kind of...
Yeah, back in the old days, we called it Big Country Coffee. I believe they are Statesmen now. Yes. We stopped at Barley Hoppers when they were still around, so the beer crowd. The winery at Willow Creek was our first stop. And so getting into the winery crowd, when you walk into our restaurant, wine's still a really big role in what we are offering. We had several different partners over the years. Our goal was to try to set a regular schedule. So that way you knew if Wednesday afternoons, when you're heading home, the pizza truck's at the coffee shop, we would make sure you could have dinner.
Yeah.
Different food trucks will operate on different models, but that one seemed to work for us for a little bit.
Okay. So what do you think set you apart where there's a lot of food trucks, or there has been probably quite a bit of them in the last 10 years or so. Very few have made that jump to brick and mortar. What do you think kind of allowed you to do that, or kind of...
I mean, food trucks are a tough business. I mean, you have to break down your kitchen, move it constantly, and having perseverance is a pretty big thing. Thankfully, with the experience that we've had, we were able to keep quality high, keep creativity high, and keep moving forward.
Jason's being humble. He's really talented. The man can cook his way out of a paper bag. Okay. And with that talent, he's also really intentional about the way we serve the food, about the way we present the food, about the way the food is crafted and created. And I think that quality showed through so that even when we were in our persevering times, we were still pretty high above the water level.
Gotcha. It also seems like a typical food truck kind of has the one thing that they do. Mm-hmm. And it feels like you guys have moved, not just... You've obviously kept the same quality on pizza and everything like that, but it seems like you are showcasing other kind of menu items. You're kind of growing into different areas that kind of are a little bit more transformative and a little bit more of what you'd expect in a high-end dining experience.
I love that you and Hope are around enough to see all that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was the goal. We knew at the food truck it needed to stay relatively simple. But then that gave us the launch pad for the restaurant. So that way we could show off more. As our team grew, we were able to show off their creative skill, their skills, their inspirations.
And with a food truck, you have limited space. And so the Italian tradition of cooking is buy the best ingredients you can and try not to mess them up. So the same thing on the truck, do one thing really well and pivot off that and play off that. So when we were limited by the truck, that made sense. As we grew in the restaurant, we really defined our box by the for the great wood-fired cultures of the world. I'm sorry. So for us, that's Italy, that's Spain, that's Argentina, and Texas. And so we position ourselves within that box and see how big we can make it and see how far we could expand. If I get out into the ether too far, I start getting confused and getting into confusion, but staying in that box really helped us a lot.
What do you think kind of went to gaining you that experience, or those kind of flavor profiles that you basically know from those different cuisines? Obviously, you said you staged in several different restaurants around here.
Yeah, I've
but
cooked professionally for 26 years now.
Oh,
so
wow.
I started cooking when I was 15 years old. Did everything from barbecue to high-end fine dining. And in just about every restaurant I've worked in, we've had to split wood. And so live fire, wood fire has always been unintentionally part of everything we've always done. And so what we do now is just standing on all those years of experience.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right. So that transition, how long have you been in the brick and mortar now?
We bought the building in 2015.
Okay.
Took us a little while to get through construction. So 2016 is our official brick and mortar anniversary.
Okay. So about
9 years. Yeah. We'll touch on 10 next summer.
How's it feeling?
Some days, like, we're still looking for the adult. Who is supervising this show?
Right.
But more often than not, it feels good. We're hitting our stride. We're realizing some of those goals that we set in place, and we're past them now. And It's a really cool feeling to see where we've come from.
What were some of those earlier goals?
Keep the doors open.
Sure. I mean,
Pay the light bill.
That's hard enough. Yeah.
And yes, I am being facetious there. We had a bigger plan than just day by day. But yes, those anniversaries, those benchmarks are important to measure that we are still doing it right. But sometimes the less tangible ones, when we're looking at our staff, I've got people on our team that helped us open the place still.
Wow.
And the fact that they feel confident enough in us, that they like what we're doing, that they're still sticking around and still making great contributions to improve us, is a really cool feeling. And it wasn't necessarily one we set out for. We knew we wanted to focus on teamwork, and our ability to lead the team would matter, and it would make a difference in the business. I don't think we understood that at the time, what our goal even was.
Okay. So how has vision changed for you as you're kind of looking at moving forward, as you are hitting that 10-year milestone next year, and what do you want this to turn into? Are you happy to just kind of be a central hub of dining in Abilene, or do you have kind of, hey, we're looking at different locations, we're looking at different style restaurants, things like that? Just what's on your mind?
Ironically, our scope has narrowed a bit since we opened. We called the food truck step 1. The restaurant was going to be step 2. And at that time, we were expecting to have multiple restaurants every couple years.
Okay.
We liked the idea of, as the team grew, we could be the hub for what we jokingly called the empire. And, nothing too bold or braggadocious about that, right? Sure. But the goal was that this empire would slowly build, and as our team grew, when we had someone that was really great in the culinary team and they were ready to step out, instead of leaving us, they could grow within this company that we were building. Or if we had someone on the front of house team that maybe needed a partner on the culinary side, we could help level everyone up together. But turns out that takes a lot of different variables that we didn't understand our access to.
Okay.
And we didn't understand necessarily the challenges of each of those steps. And so while we have narrowed the scope, clearly we do not have 15 concepts after 10 years. We do have our one. It's not off the table, but we are much more strategic about what we will even entertain for what growth looks like. Whether it is growth at the location that we've got, or if and when we do expand that into different concepts in the community.
That's awesome. I like that.
Does that sound concise?
So as you're trying to really narrow down, as you're kind of doubling down on what you're doing, what experience are you wanting to have your patrons to have at your restaurant, or when they're thinking of Vagabond, what are you wanting them to picture and to think of?
Happy faces, empty plates is what we normally say.
Yeah.
It's a community restaurant, so we want the community to be able to come in and enjoy themselves, forget about whatever else is going on in the day, and really, the power of one good meal can change the world. So come in, lose yourself, enjoy, experience some good food, and have fun.
That's awesome.
We often said we built Vagabond to be a place we want it to be. And so sometimes you want a place where you can bring all your friends and get a little loud and a little ruckus. Sometimes you just need a quiet place that's something a little different than whatever the rest of your day was. And we've worked really hard to make sure all that spectrum of opportunities is available even in our small little 3,300 square feet.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I typically think of just, I agree with what you're saying about like just being able to walk in and kind of you leave a lot. There's something about the feel of just kind of the ambient light in there, the just the concentration on the meal. It kind of feels very intimate somehow.
Thank you.
While keeping a very open space. So it's really cool.
Woohoo!
Did something right.
There you go. Don't renovate. No. Don't change lighting. No. Okay. So as you kind of are working in business, as you've been in this process for quite a bit, what were some of the tougher moments either early on or maybe even mid through? I mean, obviously being in the restaurant business, COVID is, of course, pretty much seems to be the recurring kind of theme for a lot of business owners that I've talked with. But, what were some of those make or break, or what were some of those, what, we got to double down right here?
I think one of our original fears, so even before we got into COVID, which was clearly in no one's business model, our original fear, though, from moving from a 3, sometimes 4-person, if it was a really big event, company of a food truck, to knowing we needed to have 20-something employees at the restaurant, how do we keep the same energy? How do we get folks as invested as Jason and I are? How do we make sure that even if Jason and I don't get to interact with each of the customers, they're still having that same experience when they invited our food truck into their home or into their business for their celebration? That was one of our early fears, was the conceited version is how do we make more of us to be part of this team? Right. We learned we don't need more of us. We just need people to be as excited as we are. And so that's where recruiting the right people and keeping them engaged has made a world of difference. Keeping that team, I already alluded that one of my highlights of our tenure thus far is the fact that we've still got people that want to be with us for so long. Yeah. And so different ways to know our team, to engage with our team, to make sure they feel supported, so that way they've got all the tools they need to take care of our customers in a way that those customers feel supported. Yeah. Those were some of the first challenges that have been, I am proud of how we've overcome those.
Absolutely.
You're right. Let's be honest. The hardest thing anybody's gone through in the last 10 years was a economic shutdown. Nobody knew what was going on. Right? It's hard to plan for 2 weeks in advance when it turned into 18 months. And I think in our Texas economy, we got some of the better end of that deals. Looking at restaurants industry-wide, oh my gosh, there's still folks feeling the reels of it. Yeah. I will attribute a lot to our team, that they stuck with us and took off some of the stressors so we could focus on the new challenges. And having those team members that we knew we could rely on, they would keep the operations running as best they could. They would get the ingredients ordered. They would make sure they were telling their friends. They were using their social capital to make sure we still had customers at the restaurant. Wow. So that way we could work on, all right, they're doing all this for us. How are we keeping them paid? Those big questions that we took for granted, that when operations were just running according to the business plan, that worked. When the business plan isn't viable anymore, all right, that's on us at the top of the leadership chain to make those decisions, take those next right steps, and keep things rolling.
And to compound on that, our team over the years, with how much we change our menu, how much we're working on the fly, creating new stuff on the fly, they're really good at adaptation. So during that time, they were able to just bend and flex for whatever harebrained idea that we had or someone else came up with.
There were a lot of harebrained ideas.
And then just try to run with it and try to make the best out of it and try to get whatever, percentage point we could get back any given day, and trying to work to the common goal of, winning, of getting back to where we're supposed to be. And so I got to applaud our guys really, really a lot for how well they've done during that situation.
Yeah. You definitely touch on kind of a really important flexion point for kind of the super small business that, it has maybe 1 or 2 employees. And it seems like owners at that position are always in this situation, how can I duplicate myself? And it feels like you guys got to the other side where you were able to say, I don't need them to be me. I need them to not be me. Mm-hmm. I need them to bring in whatever they can do and just kind of show the same kind of thing. And I think that's a make or break for a lot of businesses. Like I
absolutely
see,
is.
just like if you can't make that transition, if you can't surround yourself with the people that you can really trust and work with, you're not going to stay open very long.
Yeah.
And so what were some? Do you have any harebrained ideas that maybe you think back on? You're like, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
No, every idea we've ever done has performed well above what we planned on.
That's incredible.
Harebrained ideas.
Especially our humility.
Letting me talk. No, I mean, we really thought through this pretty well when we started. We've had some mistakes, but with us changing the menu every single week, we kind of brush them under the table, chalk it up to part of the game, and stand on what we learned from that and move on. We got a really good team that can bend really, really well and learn from the mistakes that we made. So we don't throw that much just out there without thinking about it some. And then we just try to make the best we can of it. So any of the mistakes we made are lessons learned. So I don't look at anyone as harebrained.
I could have gone for at least one scheme, but okay.
I can't. Can you think of any?
We're gonna trick them into eating gluten this way or not.
You got something in there.
I think I better abstain on this
Okay.
question.
Gotcha,
I better
okay.
plead the fifth on this one.
Okay. Obviously, you guys are married,
Yes.
and that kind of seems to be a central core of your business. How does that dynamic kind of play out with, just kind of the everyday? I mean, obviously, you stay to your sides of the restaurant, I'm assuming, and just kind of go, but, how does that dynamic work for you guys?
It is an interesting dynamic. It's the great days are even better because we're sharing it right then and there.
Right.
I'll admit the hard days feel a little harder though, because when you have two folks in a relationship and they work in different places and they've had a hard day, you can come in the door and you just set everything down and, oh my gosh, that guy at work is a jerk. Or whatever the feelings of the day were that made it so hard. When you're talking to the jerk at the house,
Sure.
he doesn't take it as well.
Yeah. Hard to stay on the outside of that. Yeah.
You always say you get to come home and discuss your day, like she said. You know how my day was. You were the one that caused most of it, so you were there.
But you are right. For most of the business purposes, we do specialize. Clearly, Jason can cook. He's creative. He's the one that's making sure we've got these new products and these new ideas. I'm a little bit more of the rules and the formulas and the financial side of it. And so we know our strengths on those, and we'll typically yield to each other in that. But we also know we are a team. We are each other's support system. So if I don't feel confident in something, he may not have the belief in his expertise in it, but he's going to hear me out. He's going to support me. Quite frankly, he's going to remind me that I do know what I'm doing. And then we're going to keep moving forward. And I try to offer that for him, but let's be honest, if he's asking me about ingredients, I'm less than helpful.
It's more about what do you want to eat this next week to make you happy. And then we can create a menu item for that. Bring something back.
I like that. So do you think kind of part of that key is just making sure that you're relying and trusting each other in those kind of different strengths?
That's paramount. That's the same
Yeah.
thing with any relationship.
Yeah.
They're the ones you've chosen to go through the world with. So without having that ability, what's the point?
This is going to sound even more repetitive now that we've mentioned how much we look to our team at the restaurant. But quite frankly, on my worst days, Jason can pull me out of that deep, dark hole by reminding me we're a team. I've got you.
Yeah.
We're in this together.
That's awesome. Okay, that's great. Let's go ahead and kind of, let's see. Do you guys ever still deal with any kind of doubt? Or kind of, I mean, obviously you've had a really strong track record as a business, as a couple, that you've been able to kind of log enough wins that kind of even when things are seeming a little rough, you're like, yeah, we've made it through this before. But do you still have kind of those doubts in business? Do you still have those kind of human aspects of just like, you know what, does this keep running, kind of a deal?
Yes.
Daily, hourly,
Absolutely.
weekly, monthly.
I am fascinated that it feels that the outside looking in, at least we cover it sometimes.
Sometimes.
But yes, the ups and downs, the flows of any business. there are doubts. There's still imposter syndrome. Are we doing this right? Did we just aggravate the wrong person that literally is going to bring the internet down on us? While logical me realizes that's less than likely, it is still a possibility. If we bought the wrong thing and this next harebrained idea that we were certain was going to pan out took more investment, took more time, took more capital, didn't get the
Return.
thank you. Oh, that tough word shouldn't have been that difficult. Those will always be part of us, but it also challenges us. It keeps us growing. I think if we didn't have any doubts, that's probably the sign that we're not growing anymore.
Sure. So in what ways are you wanting to kind of grow, and kind of as business owners, are you wanting to kind of help bring up new generations of people doing the same thing that you guys are doing? Or are you just, which ways are you kind of growing as individuals maybe that kind of key into, it will have an effect obviously on the business, but something that you're working on right now?
We often will, when we get real in our noggins about kind of what we're doing, why we're doing it, it's to make an impact. It's to be part of a legacy. And maybe not even necessarily that 20 years from now people need to know either of our names, but if they remember that, yeah, there was that restaurant downtown that we liked to go to that mom and dad loved all the time. Or we've got people on our team that recently got married because of someone they met at our restaurant. That's part of their legacy now. And that's a really, it makes me feel really important, whether it is just my own self-validation or actual is probably yet to be seen. Yeah. But making that impact that is a little bit bigger than ourselves is where I find the most joy and the most validation right now. I think the more people we can impact, whether it's growing them from their personal side, whether it's growing their professional careers. We've got some folks out in the Abilene community and further that have spent some time on the Vagabond staff that are growing. And we're seeing their legacy in real time as it's developing. And that's a really cool thing to be part of their lineage. Yeah. I'm not sure where I thought you were taking that, but okay. Yeah.
I was like, that's good. I don't need to add anything to that.
I think what I'm trying to get to is the original ideas for Vagabond, right? We talked about growth and wanting it to be multiple locations and these, quite frankly, bigger dollars. And these days we're looking at growth of the impact that we're making on our community, on our team members, on the people in our world. What impact are we making? And as we keep growing that, then yeah, we see some extra dollars out of it when we're doing it right. But that's not necessarily the first goal anymore.
Right. Makes sense. I kind of think about restaurants kind of like goldfish a little bit, where it seems...
I'm so excited to see what this analogy is.
It seems like from the outside that it's an accessible business for someone to start. Mm-hmm. People have some kind of sense, or at least they think they do, because, you know, everyone's living in the Dunning-Kruger world where the further you are from something, the more confident you seem. You're like, oh, I've cooked before.
Absolutely.
People like
dinner
my barbecue
several times a week.
And sometimes it's not out of a box. Sometimes, you know, I really get in there.
Absolutely.
But it kind of feels like that's where a lot of people's entry into like thinking about getting into business for themselves. Sometimes it is kind of in the world of a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Hospitality, something along those lines. And where I say it's like a goldfish is, you know, there's this sense, just put it in the nice little glass bowl of water and it's going to be great. Throw some feed in there and it's going to be all right. And they're very difficult fish to take care of. There is... So that's what I typically think of, like people get in over their heads with restaurants quite a bit. And, you know, like as they're kind of having this dream or it's a passion project or it's something that they're wanting to do. So where I'm trying to land this plane is where do you kind of give advice to people getting started into that industry as they're thinking about getting into business for themselves? What are the things that you know for a fact they're not thinking enough about?
When we were food trucking, we were lucky enough to have a lot of people come ask us how to do it. And my pat answer was don't.
Sure.
From day one. I'm going to save you a lot of money real quick. And it was the people that would come back to me and say, well, I don't care that you said no. I still want to do it. Can you help me or can you not? I said, okay, now let's sit down and talk. Margins are thin. Customers are fickle. You know, New Year's resolutions can kill you. new regulations, chicken market prices, all that stuff comes into play. It's so volatile. It changes so fast. You got to have some perseverance. You got to be able to stick through it. And then the other big thing I tell everybody is you want your hobby to become your profession. And that'll stop a lot of people. The game is hard. The game is very hard. Again, I've done it for actually 27 years. I said 26. I just had a birthday. And so I got to redo my numbers when I say this story. But being able to see the trends and have stick to it or give it down is a big, big part of it, because you got to not get too high on the highs and not get too low on the lows, and try to be more even-keeled throughout the whole process.
Yeah. So not to go way too into the weeds with just like kind of like how sausage is made as far as like the restaurant industry goes, but how much of what is all the background things goes into the price on your menu that you're kind of doing? I mean, it's evidently as inflation grows, as things like average prices just kind of keep increasing, the average consumer at a restaurant doesn't understand how someone gets that number. They say they're really proud of it. It's not really a good enough answer. So what, just because as you kind of are going to be experts in this, how are you able to price? How are you factoring it on things like that? And
the high end of industry standard is food costs you about 30%, a third of everything that you put in it. Employee costs should be about a third, and then the rest of it should be a third. That should leave you somewhere between 5 and 10% for yourself. 30%, not a third, I apologize. And so that's typically how prices. So as inputs go up, we have to pay employees better, or rent goes up or taxes go up. That final dollar on the plate's got to be, on the menu's got to be a little bit higher. And that's how it is.
yeah.
Yes, it does feel like it's just kind of a gut reaction. And we are sensitive to other restaurants in the market or in the industry. We're going to see what those prices are and make sure we're not too far out of line, because maybe that means the formula we're using is out of whack. But the rule of thumb on that formula is that we look at the expenses, we look at what we need to keep our own personal lives going, and then that formula of the 3/3 plus the return is going to be how we get to the price on the plate.
Awesome. So about how many clients do you have or customers do you have a week, would you say, right now?
I should be able to quote that off the top of my
I mean,
head.
ballpark, absolutely. Is it?
Our restaurant has right about 40 seats. When we're really running everything, a busy Friday night, each of those seats will get 4 different people in them.
Wow, okay.
If we're doing it right. There's some flexibility in that, and New Year's resolutions will bring that down a little bit.
Sure.
So if we
You guys have some diet pizza options, right?
No.
Yeah.
just no, we don't even need to whitewash that one.
We're everybody's cheat day.
Yeah, you're using a lot of Greek yogurt.
But if we extrapolate, let's say not every night's a busy Friday night, even if we still seat those 40 seats 3 times a day, and we are open 5 times a week. So there we go. 15 times 40 is 4,500
Okay.
a week.
There we go. Now let me see your monthly now.
Right, and then we're going to extrapolate. Like I said, 5 days a week. We can keep the math going on the rough math.
Exactly right. So as you're kind of thinking about, just as you guys increase numbers, as you're trying to kind of focus on things like that, are you trying to get to more clientele? Are you trying to diversify?
We're trying to strategically reach more clientele, because if I just do a really broad-based marketing plan and we're just trying to reach as many people as possible, and they all show up at 7 o'clock on Friday night, I've just spent a lot of money to aggravate a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because they're walking into a restaurant that has a wait, that wouldn't take their reservation. Do they even have pineapple and delivery? No, we don't. And so we're not, if we're doing broad strokes for our very niche market or niche restaurant, that's where we've learned that's not an effective return. And so our marketing campaigns, I say pretty loosely, more try to target people that know what we're doing and turn them into repeat customers.
Gotcha.
I would love to see my monthly people become weekly people. They know what to expect. We can entice them with something new. If they love that jalapeno jelly, just wait till you try the chili crunch. That sort of turn, one, is a little more efficient in getting people back in the door that already know where the door is. And 2, if we're doing it right, we get to keep the creative team really creative because that's their goal now. They're now part of the marketing team to make that new next thing so that I can entice those customers back.
Awesome. And just kind of wrapping up things, but yeah, what's kind of exciting going on for you guys here in the next couple months? Are you doing any special events or, yeah? What do you
We've
going?
got our last wine dinner of the month is here, or wine dinner of the year is going to be at the end of the month. We've got an Argentine dinner. And so we're shutting down the pizza operations for the day. We've sold tickets for a 5-course dinner that'll be paired. We've got some wine folks coming in to help us share the story about these juices. We've got our culinary team that's just researching and investigating and developing right now. Quite frankly, being on the staff right now is great. There's so many snacks.
Really?
These wine dinners have been a really cool way to keep our team engaged and to show off some of the skills that we don't get to show just any random night at the restaurant. So once we get through October's wine dinner, holiday, thankfully, is good and exciting and crazy, and then we'll set up more wine dinners for 2026. Awesome. We've got some ideas when we come up to that 10-year anniversary, how to celebrate, how to get the community involved. But unfortunately, they are not fleshed out yet. So we're just going to have to put a pin and a TBD on that one.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks. Any last minute things you want to mention or?
I'm good, thank you.
Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much for having us and letting
Absolutely.
us wax poetic. Like we really know what we're doing for
Yeah.
a minute.
You guys sound great.